And we are back. Oh man. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for another edition of That's a Bet podcast. You know who I am, man. It's your boy, Two T's, coming to you live from the Tab Studios. And man, it's about to get on and cracking this week. I'm so excited. Another week of NFL action. And y'all know how I start off every show. I gotta give you a little flow to let you know about my co-host. He goes by the name of Will Judson. Some people call him Willie J, but y'all know what I call him. Say it with me. Willie baby. Willie baby, what's going on with you, man?
Nothing much, man. And for all the YouTube subscribers that are sitting up here watching us on online, you can see I got the University of Illinois sweatshirt on or hoodie on today. I got to show some support to my alma mater, University of Illinois. Shout out to Lovey Smith, man. He's definitely turned things around. And you know they came back. They were down a lot last week against Michigan State, and they
A
actually
lot.
came back and covered and won straight up. And I'm just gonna say this: they only won because I decided to donate to the program. I had one of my teammates reach out to me. He works with development with the team right now. He called me last week. He said, "Hey, Will, what can you do? What can you donate?" I said, you can take X amount of dollars from me each month. I'm gonna donate. I want to give back. And then what do you know? They come back and complete the biggest comeback in school history. So I'm gonna chalk that up to my doing. I'm the one that was a good luck charm. But the one thing I'm still not gonna do, I donated to him, but I'm not betting on you guys. But congrats.
He ain't gonna do it, y'all. That's one thing my boy done told me all the time. Look, I'll look at him, I'll watch him, but I ain't finna bet him. So I
Absolutely
feel you
not.
on that, man. That's what's up. He really did. Will text me. He was like, "Man, you think I should bet Illinois? I think they're gonna get Michigan State." He texted me that early in the week, and I was like, "Will, you know your rule. You're not gonna bet your alma mater, man." He was like, "All right, thank you, man," because I was about to jump off that ledge with my boys. So,
Right.
but you knew
But they,
something
they
in them.
got
It
it.
was crazy. Yeah, it was a crazy game, man. Shout out to Illinois. Shout out to Wake Forest messing up our chances. Gosh,
Oh Lord.
I can't believe we lost that game. But hey, you are what your defense is, and
Yeah.
we can't tackle a fly with an elephant.
Hmm.
Let's move on, man. Man, week 11 will double ones. This NFL season is just flying by, people. We are so excited. Like Will said, man, YouTube. Will, I can't even begin to fathom the level of fandemonium we're getting on YouTube, man. 7,000 views on YouTube. Crazy, man. I mean, Will, like, we what did we do? We hit each other up and was like, bro, we got like 4K already. Like,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
crazy, right?
Yeah. And I mean the thing about it, I think it was on the last show we talked about how we had just got to the 1,000
Right.
subscribers,
Mm-hmm.
benchmark, and then I looked this week we are at 1.1. So I mean
Yep.
that's 100 more subscribers in 1 week. So um maybe it has something to do with what this was your idea to get this thing out of here on Wednesday, so that gives people a little bit more time to take a look at what we got going on, and then they see it, they end up subscribing. So hopefully that same thing can continue this week. So
Yep. Yep. Hey, see a pod, watch a pod, subscribe to a pod.
there you go.
Coming up with all type of sayings. But hey, y'all, as always, before we get started, week 11 NFL football here, we always have to do a little bit of house cleaning, housekeeping here. Willie J, let them know where they can find you on social media real quick, man.
Group 13 Sports. Group 13 Sports. That's Instagram and Twitter.
Yes, sir. And you can find your boy Two T's at Lockett Two T's, and that's LOCKETT, the number two TS on Instagram and Twitter. And make sure you guys follow the show on Instagram at That's a Bet Podcast. And look, we're on YouTube, the same place. That's a Bet Podcast. Just type that in. We'll pop up right there. And you guys can follow the show. Subscribe, like, comment, and we'll keep giving you guys this content. That's what we do. We love to do it. Oh, before I get started, though, Will, let me show the people something, man. Shout out to Bleacher Report betting. I got y'all gear on right now. Y'all see the shirt, man. Bleacher Report, I guess, Will, they saw that we had 7K and they wanted to show us some love. So I'm actually going to shoot my boy Will some gear out there too. But they sent us like a little care package, man. Got some t shirts, got some hoodies, some stickers. If y'all can see my phone here, I got some little Bleacher Report stickers on the phone. Shout out to Bleacher Report, man. We appreciate the love. And, Will, I guess we doing something right. You know
Hey,
what I
that
mean?
thing is nice. As our special team coach said in at the University of Illinois, Dan Dish, shout out to him. Anytime we make a play, he say nice. So hey, that's what that stuff look. Hey, that shirt is nice.
Hey man, the special team coaches always be off the rocker a little bit.
Oh yeah,
It's
oh
like they
yeah.
got me a little bit off the rocker,
You
man.
go down there and make a tackle on special teams, nice.
Hey man, I'll be thinking about, you know what? I'm about to pull that out, y'all. Y'all might hear that the rest of the year on the pod. If we if we make a good pick or something, I'm gonna pull that little segment out and drop that for
I
y'all,
got my
man.
wife. She be saying it at the house, nice.
It's nice. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Whoo, well, man. You know what I've been sipping, man. You got me sweating in here now, dog. You gotta chill out, man. But all right, y'all. Y'all know how we do it. Rapid fire. We're gonna go through every game of NFL Week 11. Get these picks in for you, and remember how we roll. So we're gonna kind of switch it up a little bit. Since we record this a little bit earlier in the week, guys, we don't want to exactly give you a best bet to start because a lot of times we do that. Lines change, injuries happen. For instance, last week the Bears Lions game, that game moved from a -3 Bears all the way up to -6 because of Matthew Stafford injury news coming out, and then there was a good play to play the Bears. So, and before that, you know, me and Will were we passed it. We really didn't have nothing on it. So what we're gonna do now, we're gonna either, if we like the game, that means that's a game we more than likely probably will bet come Sunday. We're gonna lean like we always do, or we'll pass the game. Um, Will, let's get this on the cracking. We begin this week Thursday night, an AFC North matchup. Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Cleveland Brownies. Browns are at home. The line currently sits at -3. Over under is 41. You got any action on this Thursday night AFC North battle?
Of course. I mean, I we talked about this, and I'm gonna keep bringing it up the whole year. Beginning of the year, I said, hey, do not jump on that Browns train. Not sold on it. Fade the Browns as much as you can. And this is a spot where I'm going to fade the Browns. I took them last week and was able to cash on. No, I took the under in that game. That's what I took. So I faded the offense, right?
Yep.
But I like the 3 points with Pittsburgh, and then I like that, but I'm gonna lean the Pittsburgh Steelers money line. Couple things here, Lockett. When I look at this line, it's a little weird to me. Cleveland -3. Well, we know we've talked about this. This is betting 101, ladies and gentlemen. You're gonna get 3 points for being the home team. So what this tells me is that they're evenly matched on a neutral field. If it was a neutral field, it would be a pick 'em. And I just don't think that's the case. I think Pittsburgh is a couple points better than Cleveland. Um, Mason Rudolph is playing mistake-free football for the most part. Um, the Steelers are a lot more buttoned up. They play great defense and turn the ball over for opponents. And for me, Cleveland hadn't turned the ball over in 2 games. I think that that's going to change this week. They'll turn the ball over a couple times. And Pittsburgh is 8-1-1 in their last 10 games
Ooh,
against the spread when they are an underdog. I don't like that situation if I got my money on Cleveland. So I'm gonna like the 3 points with the Steelers, and I'm gonna lean the Steelers money line. I'm gonna ride that wave of the 8-1-1 spread or against the spread currently for Pittsburgh. So I'm on the Steelers this week.
gotcha. Will, for me, I'm kind of in the same vein with you there. I'm also going to lean the Steelers money line here. I really don't want to touch the spread just because Thursday night games. It's kind of how I rolled last week. I leaned the Raiders in that Thursday night game. The Raiders came out and won. But I'm going to tell you why I also like the over in this game. It's one of these games where we talk about it all the time. Will, Thursday night games are and Will mentioned this. You're either going to get both teams come out where they're tired. They've had, short week, and they come out, they leave the defense at home,
It's
and there's
cold.
a
They
lot
don't
of
want to
points.
tackle.
Exactly. Nobody really wants to tackle. You got Nick Chubb, you got a real physical runner there. and the Steelers coming out, with their defense. Can they keep this up? This string of games that they had. Mika Fitzpatrick will, I mean, probably the best trade of the year to me, in my opinion. The Steelers giving up a first round pick to go get him. I don't think there's anybody in the draft. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and we talked about that. I don't know if you
Yep.
remember. I said, listen, the Steelers are trading away their first round pick because they feel like it with Mason Rudolph at quarterback and
Yeah.
Minka Fitzpatrick on defense. They feel like that first round pick isn't going to be that high anyway. And what do you know? They're 5-4 right now.
Yep.
So
Yeah. And they're definitely showing everybody that I think Mike Tomlin has to be in there in the discussion for coach of the year. He's just special at keeping this team together, having them rolling. And on the other end of that, Will, how terrible Freddie Kitchens is for the Browns team. I mean,
oh
his
my
clock
goodness,
management against the Bills. I don't know how they won that
play
game
calling
against the
on the
Bills.
1 yard line.
Yeah, I
It's
mean they
just
ran
bad.
nine, I think 7 plays on the 1 yard line, didn't get in. I just don't get it. It's clearly a disconnect from him and his team. And for me, man, Baker Mayfield is 1-2-1 against the spread in games where the Browns were home favorite of 3 or fewer points. And this is only the 10th time since 2015 that Cleveland has been a home favorite of any spread. Like, I mean, it's unfathomable. And because of that, how good the Steelers defense has been playing, how good the Browns defense has been playing. I think both defenses are a little bit more taxed than these offenses have been, just for the simple fact. I mean, the Steelers been running back plays every week. Mega Fitzpatrick, at some point, you kind of have to tap out a little bit. It's both defenses are going to be kind of vanilla here. I know it's going to be cold, but I think, like Will said, at some point the Browns are going to have one of those epic turnovers. I think the Steelers get one turnover that I think is going to ultimately take this game over. I think the past 3 weeks, Will, I've learned usually when you see a good defense, sometimes even the Ravens Bengals game last week, that game should have went well under because of the Bengals not really being able to score. The Ravens only scored what was it, 3 touchdowns on offense. They scored 2 touchdowns on defense. A good defense sometimes can take the games over, and that's why I'm actually going to lean the over as well, and I like it. But it's tough for me, man. These Thursday night games are tricky, so I'm going to lean the Steelers money line, and I like the over in this game, the over 41. The last 3 games between the Browns and Steelers have gone over with an average score of 48.33 points. So if that gives you any kind of inclination, it's the Browns, y'all. It's just the Browns. That's all I pretty much have to say about that. But all right, well, next game on the slate, let's go to Dallas. The Cowboys just got knocked off by the Vikings at home. They will be heading to Detroit to take on possibly the Matt Stafford-less Detroit Lions. Will, this game is pretty straightforward to me. Everything is going to point to Dallas. I think because they lost last week, no Stafford. But Detroit is very scrappy. We saw that last week against the Bears. Will, this is just a pass for me. If anything, I would lean the over, the 51.5. The over has gone over, I think, the last 4 games at home for the Lions. And if I had to lean any way, I would do that. But I'm gonna pass this game altogether. You got any action on this one?
Yeah, I do. I'm gonna take. I like Dallas minus the 3.5 versus Detroit. For me, the big question here is the health of Matthew Stafford. You talked a little bit about that, but I would, you know what? Now that I think about it, if Stafford plays, I would give Detroit a shot to cover this, but I don't think he's going to play. You know, with that back is very tricky. You never know.
Yeah.
But overall, I'm still liking Dallas. Detroit has been putrid against the pass this year. And think about this: in the last 10 years, Dallas is 18-6-2 against the spread on the road against passing defenses that allow more than 7.25 yards per attempt. The Detroit Lions defense fits well within that criteria. So I
Wow.
think Michael Gallup and Amari Cooper, they'll have big time games because we already know what Detroit will be focused on. They'll be focused on trying to stop Ezekiel Elliott, and that'll open things up on the back end for those guys. And then also, you mentioned it earlier. I like Dallas to cover in this spot. Coming off of that straight up loss at home against Minnesota, knowing that they need to win to stay on top of the NFC East division. So I like Dallas in this spot minus 3.5, and then I'll take a look at the over. You mentioned some good statistics there with the over, and for me, Detroit is 6-1 to the over when revenging a loss
Mm,
against. Oh, excuse me. That's against Dallas, but that
okay.
can kind of be kind of like a toss up. Who knows with that? But think
Yeah.
about this: in the Detroit Dallas series, in the last 11 games, over is 9-2. So there you go, right there. So
Wow.
I like the over as well, but I do like the Cowboys minus 3.5.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. All right. Next game we're on the slate. Let's go to the NFC South. New Orleans Saints 7-2 head to Tampa Bay, coming off a loss to our Morehouse Tigers, Maroon Tigers. They brought that band. Bum. But the Tampa Bay Bucks here, they pulled out a squeaker against the Cardinals last week. A game, in my opinion, I think they should have lost. And currently, the Saints are a 5.5 point favorite on the road, and the over under is 49.5. It opened up at 51, so it sounds like here people are kind of pounding the under in this situation. Will, you got any action on this game? Who you liking? You leaning, liking, or you passing?
I like the under in this game, and I lean Tampa Bay against New Orleans. For whatever reason, Lockett, it seems like whenever the Buccaneers and Saints play in Tampa, the game goes under, and when they play in the Superdome, the game goes over, right?
Yep.
Um, and that's just, being that I follow the NFC South pretty heavily because the Falcons are in that division. I always keep my eye on this game. It tends to go under, and
Mm-hmm.
for me, well, think about this. Here's a key stat. Tampa is 9-1 to the under at home when they play Sean Payton and the Saints. 9-1
Ooh.
out of their last 10 games, right? So it kind of speaks to what I'm saying. New Orleans plays good defense for the most part. And I think that their defense will show up. And so I see this game going under. But here's the other thing, and here's the reason why I kind of lean Tampa, and I actually like it a little bit. This spread right now, I caught it at 5.5.
Yep.
So think about this. We mentioned this earlier, folks. You get 3 points for playing at home. So if you switch these teams and put them back in the Superdome, that means the spread would be Saints minus 8.5. I think that's too many. No, excuse me. If they were playing, let me say that again. If they were playing at a neutral field, it would be Saints minus 8.5. If they were playing at home, it would be Saints minus 11.5. That is too many points for how good the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are. The record might not show it, but they play their teams tough. So think about this, folks. In the Superdome in New Orleans, they would be 11.5 point favorites. On a neutral field, it would be 8.5 point favorites. And here in Tampa, it's 5.5 point favorites. Think about this. When they played earlier this year with Teddy Bridgewater under the center for the Saints in New Orleans, it was a 3 point spread. So what you're telling me is if they played in New Orleans now, Drew Brees improves that team by 8.5 points. I'm not buying that. There's not many players in the league that can change a team at an 8.5 point difference. Maybe Aaron Rodgers with Green Bay, but other than that, no player in the NFL is that important to a team. So that tells me that this line is off, and so I'm going to take, if I had to, Tampa plus 5.5. But I like the under in this situation.
Got you. Got you. Well, this one actually for me is one of my best, one of the bets that I think I like the most of this week, and it's actually the Saints on the
Ooh,
road.
okay.
I would actually lay the points here simply because I just don't. Sean Payton and Drew Brees over the years just don't seem to have back-to-back games where they have bad showings. Let's just be real. They came out of the bye week. They knew they were playing the Falcons. Anticipate the Falcons really not to show up, in my opinion. And when they actually tried to get it going, it was too late to kind of get it going. They laid an egg. They've been hearing it all week. Drew Brees has been hearing all week. Is Drew Brees done? Is he over the hill? Is he getting too old? Is he slowing down? And I think the perfect team to get right against is the Buccaneers. One thing, Will, that I've noticed that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have consistently done all this year, like they've scored a lot of offense, but the games where I think it is the last, is it the last six? Oh, let's see, the last seven. So the last 7 games that Tampa Bay, where Tampa Bay has averaged with the game. So the last 7 games Tampa has played has averaged 50 total points between the two teams. And in those games, the last five, they haven't covered the spread. They're 0-5 against the spread in their last five. Whether they lost the game, whether they, were a favorite and didn't cover, or they were an underdog. For me, New Orleans is just a better team. They ran into a Falcons team who literally laid it all on the line. I mean, some of the bounces the Falcons got this past week against the Saints, even as a Falcons fan, I was like, man, wow. I guess it's just our day. Will makes a good point about the home and the road, spreads where you get 3 points at home. But Will, to me, this is just kind of one of those calls where I feel like it's going to be an Alvin Kamara show. I think Sean Payton says, all right, guys, let's get to what really got us to this point as a team. Alvin Kamara, one of the most elusive, versatile backs in the NFL. Give him 20 to 30 touches, pull it out of his belly, throw it to Michael Thomas. And guys, one key stat that I think people are really going to overlook in this game. Vernon Hargraves III was released by the Buccaneers. Their first round, number one corner. They released him because they said the lack of hustle, kind of detrimental to the team. He didn't want to be there anymore. As little as that seems, okay, we get rid of him and we move on. You got Michael Thomas rolling in town, and he's no slouch. I mean, even in the loss to the Falcons last week, he put up like 120 something, almost 10 catches, 13 targets. He's going to get his. I think the Saints actually destroy the Buccaneers, and I think it's not going to be close. I think the offensive line of the Bucs is terrible. The Saints D-line is still one of the best in the NFL here. And I think they cover this pretty easily, actually, Will. And this is actually going to end up probably being one of my best bets. But I really, really like it right now as of Wednesday. And we'll keep an eye on it because I think this line is actually going to inflate a lot more once we get closer to action. So,
all right. So we got Fade City on that one. You fade me, I fade you. Yeah. We fade each other, baby.
We over here West Coast fading. You know how they do it. I guess we're going to be in the alley for this game. So, all right, Will, let's jump into another matchup here. Next game on the slate, another 1:00 game. Let's stay in the NFC South. We got the Morehouse Maroon Tigers. Excuse me. They actually bumped up. Who are they now? They actually won a game. They're probably
we'll bump them up to Mercer University.
Okay.
No. We give them Georgia State since Georgia State.
Okay. Yeah. So now we got the Georgia State Panthers taking on the Carolina Panthers in Carolina. Got them Dirty Birds, man. They beat the Saints last week, so we'll show them a little love. Spread right now is -5.5. Ooh, Will. There goes that number again. Carolina's favored it at home though this time. Over under is 49.5. And Will, this game is a pass for me. Just want to make it as clear as possible. I don't know what Falcons team is going to show up. If the Falcons team showed up last week, that showed up last week against the Saints shows up in Carolina, this would probably be, is it a 1-point win? Is it a 2-point loss? The Falcons lost Freeman, so they're not going to have him going into the game. So they're going to be starting with Brian Hill and Quandre Ellison and Kenyon Barner. Trufant, is his toe going to be okay? Who knows? The Falcons still are pretty banged up. Carolina-wise, Kyle Allen, do we still trust him? Can the Falcons slow down Christian McCaffrey? A lot of questions in this game. It's another NFC South matchup. Will, if I had to take, if you put a shotgun in my head and had me take something, I would take the under just because of that NFC South type of matchup. We know how those go pretty much between these two teams. But I'm going to pass on it, Will. You got any action for this game?
Yeah. I like the Falcons plus the 5.5 points right here. I don't think Carolina – I think these teams are almost about even. If the Falcons are going to continue how they played last week, to me, with my rankings, I got this game at about Panthers -3.5. They're a half a point better than the Falcons. But being that they're at home, they're getting that extra juice, which is why it's 5.5, right? For me, Carolina's starting to finally come back down to earth. We've talked about this on many occasions with this show. When you lose your starting quarterback and you bring another guy in, there's sort of like an extra boost by the rest of the team. And that's kind of what we got early on with Carolina, but they've lost 2 out of their last 3. And to me, they're just not good enough for them to be laying 5.5 points against the Falcons. The Falcons seem to be playing with a little bit more of a chip on their shoulder, with a more confidence and almost like a sense of relief or relaxation, I should say, because they didn't fire Dan Quinn over that bye week. They brought him in. I think Dan Quinn is relaxed a little bit and he can actually call plays. That's what's got him, in the head coaching position, his defensive acumen. So They got pressure on the quarterback last week. They got to do that again this week if they want to pull this one out. But I'm going to take the points. I'm not going to bet the money line on the Falcons. And it comes down to a few system plays for me. First of all, number one system. Road dogs are 62% against the spread this year. Road
Ooh.
underdogs, right? Divisional underdogs are 60% against the spread. That's just, divisional underdogs.
Yeah.
Divisional road dogs are 70% against the spread this year. I love those odds. I'm gonna roll with the Falcons. I can't look if I'm getting 7 out of 10 right on that, I'm taking that. So I will take the Falcons plus 5.5 just off the road divisional dog system play of 70% against the spread. So
Mm. Okay. I like it. I like it, man. That's interesting. You know how well I'm like with the Falcons, I'm like you with Illinois, man. I just can't touch them. Anytime I touch them, it backfires. So I'm gonna stay away from it. All right, well, next game on the slate, the Jacksonville Jaguars head to Indianapolis to take on the Colts. Hey, that man's coming back, Will. They call him BDF. You know what that stands for. Big ding ding foals. we gonna keep it. We're gonna keep it R rated. But hey, he's coming back this week, coming off of a bye week as well, taking on the Colts, who are very, very banged up. Brissett, he's projected to play. T.Y. Hilton also is questionable. They say he's leaning towards playing, but I mean, he has a calf injury. I don't know, a wide out. Will, you probably know better than me how hard it would be to play with a strained or pulled calf muscle at wide receiver. It's probably impossible to do. That opened up at -3.5 for the Colts. Now it's down to -2.5. So it sounds like everybody is starting to pour a little bit of money on the Jags. And the over-under is 43.5 here, Will. So, Will, you got any action on this one here? If you do, what you like, man?
yeah, I'm gonna keep this simple. I like Jacksonville. I called it at plus 3.5. I like Jacksonville plus 3.5 against Indianapolis. 2.5, maybe you pull out on that, but 3.5, I'm all the way in there with that. Leaving it in, if you know what I mean.
Yes,
But
sir.
anyways, my questions for Indianapolis: who's gonna be playing quarterback for Indy? You talked about Brissett might play. We don't know for sure. Who's gonna play quarterback for Indianapolis this week? Is T.Y. Hilton actually going to play? It's questionable. Better yet, how many field goals is Adam Vinatieri gonna miss this week?
Oh,
I mean, that's
boy.
just ridiculous. Missing field goals with my money on them. I didn't bet them,
Terrible.
but other people. I'm just speaking figuratively for everybody, right?
Terrible.
Is he? How many field goals is he gonna miss this week? One thing we do know, Nick Foles will be back this week. You talked about that, and I think he will play well. He wants to show him that he didn't. We know he's stealing right now because he's been hurt, but he wants to show him that he didn't commit a full-fledged heist for $80 million. So I think he's going to play this week. So Jacksonville is well rested and healthy. They're coming off that bye week after playing in London, and we talked about this earlier. Road dogs have been awesome against the spread this year, so I'll take the Jags.
Got you. Hey, I'm right there with you. I'm on that train. I like the Jags as well. I also caught it at +3.5. Jumped on it pretty early. Will, the Jags are 7-1-1 against the spread in their last 9 games after a bye week. So that tells you something. They must be doing something right coming out of bye weeks. They get rested up and they'll look good. And the Colts, for me, who are 0-4 against the spread in their last 4 home games versus team with a losing record, well, that gets me back to my point about them all the time. What have we said all year? They play up to their competition and they play
Yep.
down to their competition. Last week, they flat out, they got beat by the Dolphins. I mean, even with Brian Hoyer in there, we know what Dolphins teams is in there. They got a bunch of replacements, practice squad guys that nobody wanted, and they came into their house and beat them. And they actually beat them pretty bad. The Colts made it close at the end. It shouldn't even been that close. So what Colts team is really going to show up? And for me, all those questions and Nick Foles, man, I don't care what nobody says. When you give Nick Foles time to prepare for a team, i.e. Super Bowl games, lead into the playoffs, Nick Foles will shred you and carve you up. He did that all the way back in college. And he was at, Washington State?
Arizona.
Arizona State, excuse me. Yes. I mean, I remember back in the day, I remember talking about, man, who is this Foles guy? Like shredding people. And I really, really like Leonard Fournette in this game. I think the Colts got exposed a little bit in the run game. I mean, even though Darius Leonard made 30,000 tackles last week, He was the only one making plays on the defense. If it wasn't him making the play, then the Dolphins were making the big play. The big thing here for me, Will, and the stat that really got me on this, and you guys know how I do. I like to drop those nuggets. The Jaguars are 7-0-1 against the spread in their last 8 games versus the Colts. That pretty much says it all there. In this division, it's kind of weird where it's like the Colts have the Texans number, the Jags have the Colts number, and then it's just weird. Like, and then the Texans have the Jags number in close games. It's weird how this division works. With that being said, I like the Jaguars here, plus 3.5, and I'm on that same train with you, man. Let's all aboard the Jaguars this week. All right, Willie, let's get to a game that I think really is about to be a massacre. Personally, Minnesota Vikings 7-3, hosting the Denver Broncos 3-6, 10.5 point favorites. Will the Vikings are at home? Over under is 40. Man. Will, for me, I want to lay the Vikings so bad, Will. I want to touch them because we know how the Vikings are at home. They're a juggernaut at home. They've beat teams by an average of 14.5 points this year at home. They really, really dominate at home. That's just their calling card. And Will talked about all the time, who's the number one against the spread in the NFL head coach right now? Will, tell me.
Zimmer, baby.
Zimmer, baby. Old Mike Zimmer. Old one-eye Mike. You know how he does it. So it's weird because when you put all those stats in front of you, it's like, man, this is a layup to take the Vikings. But I don't think it's that much of a layup. I think the Denver Broncos defense is very underrated. Vic Fangio really has them rolling. And it's a scenario to where the Vikings are coming off that high of playing on Sunday night. Dalvin Cook. Oh, I'm ready for this. I'm going to show the world I'm the better running back. Kirk Cousins. I'm going to prove to everybody I can play outside of 1 o'clock. It seemed like everybody in the Vikings game had something to prove that game. That was like their, let's show the world who we are. Okay. Next week. Let's not. All right. We got Broncos. Okay. Rookie quarterback coming in. You know, it's just natural to have that letdown. And for that reason, if I had to lean one way, I would lean the Broncos just simply because I feel like the Vikings would start out so slow that it would be tough for them to cover late. I feel like this would be like a 7-point win or like literally a 9-point win or something because of field goals where they're not converting in the red zone because they won't have Thielen again. He may play, but why would you play him right now? You're 7-3, you're rolling. So, Will, this is a pass for me. But if I had to lean one way, I would lean the Broncos to cover. You got anything on this game?
I honestly don't have anything on the point spread, but I like Minnesota and Denver to go over 39. I know both of them have, strong defenses, but to me, this total just seems a little bit too low.
Yeah.
Minnesota on defense, they're coming off of a strong performance against Dallas. They completely shut Zeke down, and I think for me that might give them the possibility to come out just a little flat, even at home, or let's just say the offense, Kirk Cousins and company, doesn't come out as sharp as they have been in the last few weeks. Maybe they turn it over a couple times, and that leads to a short field for Denver where they get, cheap garbage points. And this game ends up being something like a 31-13, something like that, 31-14. That'll push it over that 39.5. Non-conference games, Lockett. Non-conference games in domes with a point total of 44 points or lower are 63% against the spread since 2003. So I'll go ahead and take the over in this one.
Okay. Got you. That's interesting. Will might have me digging into that a little bit more as I continue to handicap that one. All right, Will, let's go to the poop bowl of the week. New York Jets taking on the Washington Redskins, the Dwayne Haskins led Redskins. He's going to be the starter for the rest of the year. If you guys haven't known yet, -1.5. Redskins are favored. Wow, at home. Over under is 38. Will, can they score points? Will they go over this? I don't know. Will, what you got on this one, if anything?
This is a pass for me. If you put a gun in my head, I'm taking the Jets coming off of how they played last week against the Giants. Maybe they have a little confidence as a team. I like the personnel on the New York Jets a little bit more. So if you put a gun in my head, I would take the Jets, but I'm passing.
Gotcha. For me, this is also a pass. Not really much here in this game. Dwayne Haskins has shown he's a turnover machine. He likes to throw late. I think if there's a prop that goes out over under interceptions thrown this game, I think if it comes out 1.5 for Haskins, I would definitely eat that up. But as far as laying anything on this, I'm not going to touch it. If I were you, I wouldn't touch it. It's really not any value in this, and both of these teams are unknown. And the Redskins are coming off a bye, so they may come out world beaters. Who knows? So it's a pass for me, Will. Next game, Will. Let's take the 2-0 over the last 2 weeks. Miami Dolphins hosting the Buffalo Bills, 6-3, coming off a tough loss to the Browns. The Browns are a 6-point favorite, Will,
The
on the
Bills.
road. Yeah, I mean, excuse me, the Bills. Excuse me, guys. Buffalo Bills are a 6-point favorite on the road against the Dolphins. Wow, that's interesting. Opened up at -7.5. I mean, I don't know what Dolphins team they've been watching, but that team's been fighting pretty good behind Ryan Fitzmagic. Over under 40. Will, you got any action on this one? What you liking?
Yeah, I like the Dolphins +6. I mean, look at the Dolphins. They've won their last two games. And to be honest, maybe they shouldn't have won, more than two games this year so far, but they definitely should have covered more games. They're 5-4 right now, 5-4 against the spread. They should more so be around 7-2. They just had a couple things that have gone their way, or excuse me, gone the wrong way, kind of like flukish a little bit, which has them right now at the 5-4 mark against the spread. But I got to give credit to Brian Flores. Doesn't have much talent out there, but he's got the guys playing hard every single week. And with Ryan Fitzpatrick in there, no matter how bad the team is, they're going to come out and play well. He brings a lot of energy, and they play hard. Buffalo, we've already talked about this. I've said they're a paper tiger for the last 4 or 5 weeks, and
Yep.
it's starting to rear its ugly head a little bit. They're losing these games. If you're a legitimate playoff team, you can't go to Cleveland and lose that game last week. I think the
Agreed.
biggest thing is that Buffalo is one dimensional. They try to play defense, and then they try to run the football. They don't really throw it with a lot of um, confidence, I should say. And so for me, I think Miami can cover this spread at home, which is 6 points. Divisional dogs, 60% against the spread this year. And then I'd also take a leak at, take a peek at the
A
under in
leak.
this game.
Oh,
Right.
go and pee on that thing, Will.
Right. I would take a peek at the under in this game. Neither team is very good on offense, and so I would also take a peek at the under.
Got you. Will, I'm actually liking the under on this game. I think last week, Will, you gave me a stat about Josh Allen on the road. I think is he 12-2 in his career, or I mean, I think it's or maybe undefeated.
It's almost 90% against the under.
Yeah. Josh Allen is one of those quarterbacks. I just feel like on the road, he gets in the mentality where he doesn't want to mess it up. Let me just hand this off. I don't want to throw it deep. I don't want to throw an interception. I really don't want to mess up. He's just one of those game managers on the road. Game managers on the road equals not a lot of points, a lot of field goals. The Dolphins, we know what they are. Their offense isn't elite. They have went under. Let's see. I think that they're under this season. I think they've only went over twice this year. The Dolphins have, if I'm correct. I'll pull it up for you guys here in a second. But for me, I really like the under just simply because of that stat. And because the Dolphins have covered the last 5 games in a row, which is just, I mean, that's crazy for as bad as they were. Them covering and the Dolphins only averaging, what is it, 23 now? No, they're only averaging 19 points a game, which got boosted up over the last couple of weeks. Oh, I got to give y'all that right number because that's going to bother me. The Dolphins are averaging 18.4 is what they're averaging. So if they're covering spreads and they're only averaging 18.4 points, Will, do the math on that. That's a good play with that 90% of Josh Allen on the road, that hitting. It just makes sense to take that. And I think I'm gonna take that under. But one nugget I do want to give you guys, and this is kind of fantasy wise. Singletary, Mr. Singletary is heading back to Florida. He's a Florida kid. He ended up going to Memphis, but I think he may break the slate this week. 200 rushing yards from Singletary this week in Miami. Y'all take that to the bank now. Everybody's gonna be on Frank Gore coming back to Miami and all that. People don't forget Singletary's from Miami as well too. So, but I definitely like the under in this one. Will I'll probably be laying some money on that under here. So we'll see what happens in this game. All right, Willie J. This next one, man. I mean, this is the tough one for me. We're gonna go to your hometown, the Houston Texans, man, heading out to Baltimore to take on the Ravens, one of the hottest teams in the NFL. Ravens are a 4-point favorite at home. Over under is 50 here. Will for me, this was tough for me because looking at the game, how hot the Ravens are, Lamar Jackson, call him La MVP as I call him, balling out. He's on my fantasy. I gotta show him some love. But Deshaun Watson has been Michael Jordan-esque, as John Gruden would call him, as well. Two quarterbacks that I think are going to make this game very exciting. Stylistic wise, it's kind of two opposites here. The Texans like to put the ball up and sling it, whereas the Ravens are a ground attack, one of the best ground attack, I guess, in the NFL. But Will, this is kind of one of those scenarios where coming off a bye, the Texans have gotten healthy, man. They're going to get Will Fuller back, safety Tyshawn Gibson. He started practicing again. Tight end Jordan Thompson as well. A lot of people don't talk about him. He's very versatile. He'll be coming back. They're getting a lot of key players back. They're getting healthy. When the Texans are healthy, especially start the season, they look like juggernauts. They look real good. But for me, it's tough because can that O line hold up against the Ravens front four, front seven? I don't know. I mean, one week the Texans look good, the next week they look bad. They're kind of like in the Colts, same boat as the Colts for me. On the other end, the Ravens, we thought they were paper tigers to start the year. They started out that way, but are they really still paper tigers? They knocked off the Patriots, but who'd they beat last week? The worst team in the NFL, the Bengals. People forget about that. So as good as their record is, they are 7-2. Can they really come out and be a good team, in my opinion, in the Texans? For me, I think this game, the best play here for me, I actually would lean the over in this game. I just think the Texans, who are 0-5 straight up in the last 5 road games versus the Ravens, I can't trust them there. The Texans are 2-10 straight up and 2-10 against the spread in their last 12 road games against teams with winning records. Can't trust them there. But this is the one that has me like, okay, I can't touch that spread. The Ravens are 3-10-1, Will, in their last 14 games as a favorite. Everybody's praising Lamar. You're changing the league. You're this and that. Will it get to his head? Well, I don't know. I think both defenses here are still kind of adjusting. I think points can be scored on the Ravens. We know points can be scored on the Texans, so I would lean the over in this game. Will, what type of action you like on this one?
For me, it's a lean with the Houston Texans at +4. They're coming off a bye. This is a particular, this is a situation where they know the challenges that Lamar Jackson and the Ravens present on offense. So I think that level of focus was there during this bye week, figuring out, okay, what are we going to do to slow these guys down just a little bit?
Yeah.
And then when you look at the Houston Texans last 25 games in November, they are 17-7-1 against the spread. So when you get closer to that playoff type of football later in the year, the Houston Texans team seem to be able to turn it on a little bit. So I would lean Houston in this situation. You talked a little bit about it earlier. Ravens coming off an emotional victory against the Patriots and then following it up with a absolute throttling of the Cincinnati Bengals last week.
Yeah.
That just makes me think that this could be a spot where they come out a little flat because it's hard to stay up there on that level all year long, right?
Yeah, I agree.
So I would lean Houston in this spot, and then this is just a strictly sharp contrarian play for me. I don't like really being on the side with the public. We already know the public is going to definitely bet this to be a shootout with the quarterbacks that you have on both teams. So I'm looking at the total right now. I'm looking at it. It's 50 points. I can see this game going under for that simple reason.
Yeah.
I never like being on the side of the public, and just something to talk a little bit about. Baltimore is 19-2 to the under at home against the AFC South. I don't know
Wow.
what it is with that division, but 19-2 is pretty. That's pretty
Yeah,
stout.
19 and
So
2. Wow.
that's
Damn.
stout. So I would lean Houston for the point spread, and then if you put a gun in my head, I would do the under on the sharp contrarian play.
Okay. I like that, man. I like it. That Texans game is gonna be a tricky one, man. So it's definitely gonna be one of those. All right, Will. Next game on the slate will the Arizona Cardinals taking on the San Francisco 49ers. This game here, the 49ers coming off their first loss, minus 11 and a half, Will. They're favored at home versus the Cardinals. Over under is 45. Man, for me, Will, this 49ers game, it's tough. 49ers were a little bit banged up. They lost Emmanuel Sanders to a rib cartilage injury. They won't have Kittle. They've already ruled him out. They're going to try to sit him, get him healthy for the playoff push. Jimmy Garoppolo is he really clutch? Is he the guy that's going to take you over to the promised land? I don't know. He looked bad in those clutch moments in some of those final drives. For me, man, the Cardinals are one of those teams that I feel like the Cardinals should be 6-3 ish. They've been in almost every game they played, minus the first two games of the season. I think Cliff Kingsbury is finally starting to run Kyler Murray a little bit. And I think that's actually changing their offense because he's a dynamic runner. I mean, that's a part of his game. It's his speed, his elite speed. And Christian Captain Kirk, man, like, wow, where did he come from? Now he's freaking 10, 12 targets a game, just balling
Right.
out. That's changing their offense. Kenyon Drake has actually elevated them a little bit. Will, as banged up as the 49ers are coming out of that game against the Seattle Seahawks, it's a short week. I think this is one of my favorite bets of the week. I actually really like the Cardinals here at that plus 11 and a half. I don't see the 49ers really coming out and really trying to destroy them, or I don't see them really beating them that much, man. Breida's out. They have two or three defenders that are out. It's just at some point the injuries catch up with you. I think the 49ers win this game for sure, but I think the Cardinals are good enough to hang around. And I think Kyler Murray he extends a lot of drives on third downs. They're one of the best third down converting teams now in the past four games. The Cardinals are. And for me, Will, the 49ers, I think in some ways got exposed a little bit in that Seattle game. If you come if you hit them with the short screen type of plays on defense, because they're one of those. What's the defenses we always talk about? We're like back in the day, the Florida States, where they're so fast. If you get them going one way, fake one way, and throw it back the other way, they're all going to run to one side because they're swarming to the ball. The 49ers defense is kind of similar to that. And I think Seattle really exploited that. Russell Wilson and those guys with the bootleg action coming back to the opposite side. I think the Cardinals are going to take a page out of Pete Carroll's book here. All the procrastinators right now, they're in the experts 35-7, 28-3. They think they're going to blow them out. I just don't see that. This is a divisional game, guys. Remember that. These are two division rivals. They go at it every year. They know each other pretty well, the players, and so many injuries. I have to keep saying it. So many injuries for the 49ers. I really like the Cardinals here plus 11 and a half, Will, and I'm actually leaning the under 46 as well because I don't think the 49ers are going to be able to put up enough points in this game to really blow them out. So give me the Cardinals. I like the Cardinals plus 11 and a half, Will, one of my favorite bets of the week, and I'm going to lean the under for this game. What you like in this one?
I'm gonna keep it short and simple. All that stuff you said earlier on the Cardinals, I agree with. I like the Cardinals plus I got it at 11 and a half plus the 11 and a half. For you guys that don't know, the Cardinals this year are 7-3 against the spread. That is 70% against the spread. Keep fading them if you want, and you're gonna keep losing your money.
Yep.
And then when we look at all the teams in the NFL, road underdogs coming off a loss straight up are 68% against the spread this year. And then road divisional dogs, we talked about it earlier. They're 70% against the spread. That is directly in line with the Cardinals at 70% against the spread as a team. So I'll go ahead and take that. Divisional dogs getting 10 or more points since 2003. That's 16 years. 57%.
Woo.
All of those numbers, all of them scream out to me. Take the points and take a chance on the Cardinals. The Cardinals have been very strong against the spread this year. So I'll take the Cardinals.
Yep. Got you. I'm definitely feeling you on that one. All right, Will. Super Bowl 52 rematch here. The New England Fighting Patriots are headed out to Philadelphia. They're taking on the Eagles. Will, currently the game sits at -3.5. The Patriots are favored on the road. Over under is 44.5. Willie J, what you say? What type of action you got going on this one?
Keeping this simple and sweet. You know how I am, how I feel about Belichick and Brady. Since
Yes, sir.
2003, that combo is 63% against the spread, and they're a road favorite this week. I got it at -3.5. Road favorites coming off of a bye are 69% against the spread since 2003. Um, don't really know what I'm going to get with Philadelphia. They're up and down. We've talked a little bit about it in the past on this show. Philadelphia comes out flat sometimes, at home. So I'm just going to go ahead and bet on Brady and Belichick coming off of a bye and defeating, a pretty bad loss at Baltimore. So I'm going to take the Patriots -3.5.
Got you. Got you. Well, this is a tough one for me. And I say that because I actually, for a hot second, wanted to take the Eagles. And then there was a little Willie J in the back of my mind that was whispering to me, "Hey, Lockett, don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. It's Belichick. You know what he does." And you know what? I had to do it. I had to do it, Will. So I'm gonna rock with you, man. I like the Patriots here -3.5. I think it's one of those scenarios to where I think first half, I think the Eagles actually come out and play them tough. I think the Eagles actually cover the first half. We'll find out what that is. It'll probably be a 1 point or a pick 'em, whatever that is, depending on what it comes out if this line moves by then. But by the time this game rolls around, what would that be? A full 13 and a half days the Patriots have had to prepare for a team. Belichick with time, he's money, man. He's Belichick without time is money. So that's one of my favorite bets this week. That my Patriots -3.5. And just to give you guys some nuggets here, the Patriots are 6-0 against the spread against the NFC conference in their last 6 games. Also here, New England is 5-1 straight up in their last 6 games on the road. So minus the Baltimore game, they've been chugging on the road. New England 13-1 straight up in their last 14. Guys, I want you guys to remember something. Baltimore they gave them a little bit of juice. They weren't ready for that run attack, but I think that defense gets back on track here. They put pressure on Wentz, and we know what happens to Carson Wentz will when he gets pressure on him. He's gonna throw you that ball, or he's gonna turn it over. He's gonna do something like that. Let's. I'm not gonna touch it right now, but I'm starting to look at that under as well. That we forget Patriots best defense in the NFL and the offense. They're in the bottom 10 in the NFL as far as production this year. A lot of people forget that. They've moved the ball a little bit this year, but a lot of their scoring this year has come by their actual defense. So with that being said, I'm definitely gonna take a long look at the under, and I may post that on my social media here by the end of the week. But Will, I'm with you on this one. I like the Patriots -3.5. Let's just go get the money with Belichick. Got to do it. All right, Willie J. Got a couple more here. We got 3 left, guys. Cincinnati Bengals 0-9. Oakland 5-4. Spreads -10.5. Will, they opened up at -8. Money's been pouring in on the Raiders. Pouring in. Over under is 48.5. Will, this is a pass for me. I don't trust Oakland. Yes, they're at home. Yes, they're playing the Bengals. Yes, the Oakland's defensive coordinator used to be the defensive coordinator for the Bengals in the Marvin Lewis era. There's nothing really here for me. I've really spent probably 10 seconds on this game. It's definitely a pass for me. What you got for this one?
Same thoughts. I don't trust Oakland with a double-digit spread. That is ridiculous.
Isn't it?
Cincinnati's no good, but I can't put my money on the Oakland Raiders. I'm not doing that. So it's a pass for me as well.
All right. Willie J. Chicago Bears 4-5. Headed out to LA. West Coast trip. They came off of a big win against the Lions. Big win against the Lions. It lets you know how the Bears are this season. Rams 6.5-point favorite at home behind Jared Goff, Todd Gurley, Aaron Donald. Over under is 40.5. Opened up at 42. Will, this is a tricky one for me because we talked about Cooper Cup before we got on the air and how he got shut out last week pretty much. Cooks, who has a concussion, going to be out again. Woods isn't really a number one. To me, Cooper Cup really isn't a number one. He just thrives when you got somebody that can take the top off the defense. That guy won't be there. And Jared Goff is the biggest fraudulent quarterback in the NFL currently right now. He is robbing everyone right now. $100 million QB. Come on, Will. No way. But on the other side, Will, who you got? Mitchell, sorry, Trubisky. I mean, that guy, number 2 overall draft pick. Really, you could have got Deshaun Watson or Patrick Mahomes, and you took Mitchell freaking Trubisky. I don't trust the quarterbacks, Will. And with that being said, I'm leaning the under in this game because people talking about the Bears like they just world beaters or something like that. The Bears have been terrible on offense. Past, 4 weeks here, they've only averaged 17 points a game, Will. 17. It's horrible. Rams in the same boat. I mean, last week against the Steelers, where they had 7 points, or was it 9? I think they got a safety, so it was 9 points. Same boat here. So I would lean the under here, the under 40.5. I hope it goes back up to 41. I really want 41. It's just something about 41. But that's pretty much what I got on this one, Will. You got any action on it?
Reiterating all that you said, it seems like to me, now in what his 4th year as the head coach, 3rd or 4th year as the head coach, Sean McVay, it seems like these defensive coordinators are starting to figure out a little bit what that little gimmicky play calling is. We know what the Rams do. They run the ball, they set you up with the play action, and they run the same pass plays out of different formations.
Yep.
It's kind of been figured out a little bit with Cook. You said it earlier, with Cook's not in there, it's allowing the defense to sit and not have to defend the long run or the long pass. And so that's kind of taking away Cup. They double teamed Cooper Cup last week, and that, he didn't catch a ball. So this whole offense, once again, is predicated off of the run and then the play action. They haven't been able to run it like they want to with Todd Gurley. So you talked a little bit about Jared Goff. I think they paid him a little bit too early.
Yeah.
Jared Goff, and you know what happens when you draft a guy number 1 overall and he's in-house, you see him all the time, you develop a specific type of love or affinity for the guy, and they paid him a little bit too early instead of making him play it out a little bit longer. This the same. He came out the same year as Dak Prescott. The Cowboys haven't paid Prescott yet. They didn't have to be in a rush to pay Goff, and now they're seeing why they should not have paid him, right?
Yeah.
So I'll take the under in this situation. Primetime games, night games, 61% against the spread, or excuse me, 61% under this year for primetime games. The under is 6-3 in the Bears games, and it's also 6-3 in the Rams games this year. I'm going to take the under. You mentioned a little bit about Mitchell Trubisky, who was drafted number 2 overall in front of Deshaun Watson and Patty Mahomes. Chicago in their last 15 games is 12-3 to the under, with Trubisky starting at quarterback. So I like the under in this situation.
Gotcha. Yeah, man. You got to take that with Mitchell and Goff, man. Until they prove it, you know what I mean? Their offense is how anemic they've been. I think that under is definitely a real good play. All right, well, Monday night special. Let's head out to Mexico, Willy, Mexico City, Azteca Stadium. Man, well, this will be a fun one. I'm excited for this Monday night. Headed out to Mexico, the Chiefs are the home team here. They're going to be hosting the Chargers. Currently, Will, this game is at -3.5. Actually, the Chargers are going to be the home team. Sorry, guys. That's how they do the LA Chargers. It's probably going to be a home game for the Chiefs, too. But 3.5 point favorite, the Chiefs are here, Will. Opened up at -3. Over under is 52, Will. It opened up at 49. People have been pounding the over in this game. Will, it's interesting for me in this one. You have to take into account that this game is going to be played roughly at 7,200 feet above sea level. Like, they're going to be higher than they are in Denver. And for me, Will, I was kind of doing research on Kansas City and how they play in Mile High at that higher sea level to kind of give you an idea of what team I think will show up in Mexico. So, Will, Kansas City is averaging 28 points per game at Denver in Mile High, so that high elevation. And in those three starts, including, I think it was one of those weeks. That was the week actually where Mahomes dislocated his knee. Mahomes is 60 for 91, Will, with the 2 touchdown passes, 1 rushing touchdown, and an interception. And he's 3-0 straight up and against the spread in those starts in the mile high conditions. That ball from the fly, Will. They're going to put that thing up. Hey, Tyreek, I need you to go to the end zone. I need you to get a couple of burritos and a couple of grape sodas when you get there and jump in the crowd and put on your hat and do your dance. So for me, Will, I think the over is the play in this game. I'm leaning the over. But I feel like by the time we get to the game, man, it's going to be in the 54 range. I just see this climbing and climbing and climbing almost to the point to where Vegas is going to be like, all right, y'all need to chill out and put it at a 56, and it kind of settles. Patrick Mahomes, though, will threw for 446 passing yards last week, 4 touchdowns, and they lost to the Titans. That defense, Will, in Kansas City is still bad. They were bad last year. They were bad the year before. They went and tried to go sign guys. They're still bad. Phillip Rivers is a mastermind. He's going to sling it. Keenan Allen, Melvin Gordon's run the ball well. I think starting offensive tackles Sam Tevi and Russell Okung came out. Both came out of the Oakland loss banged up for the Chargers too. So that's something to be said there. I think it's going to be one of those shootout games. Chargers fall down early, 21-0 or something, and they fight back. So give me the over here, Will. I really like the over. And I don't know. I want to touch the Chargers just because, but I can't touch them because see here, the Chargers, Will, are 3-6-1 in their last 10 games before a bye. Against the spread. Actually, that's 3-6-1 this year. They're 0-6 in their last 6 games before a bye. So I can't trust them. So for me, man, I think I'm gonna take the over this game, over 52. That would be my play. What you got, Willie?
I'm passing on this game. I'm not betting the game that's played in Mexico City, especially when you talk about how Kansas City has been up and down this year. Threw for all those yards last week, and they still lost to the Titans. We know what the Chargers do. They're up and down, up and down. Too much inconsistency. They're both traveling, 1,000 miles or so to play in Mexico City at a 7,200 feet elevation. I'm out on this. I'm just going to watch it. Hopefully I would have collected some money up until that point. I can just watch it and just have a good time. So I'm passing on this one.
Gotcha.
Too many unknowns.
He's going to pass from the high level. One quick thing before we go about this game, and I forgot to mention, the Chiefs straight up, guys, and this is a crazy number. The Chiefs are 23-2, Will, straight up in their last 25 games against the AFC West. Total domination. So if anybody out here is trying to get cute and you're feeling like the Chargers are going to beat them or, knock them off, you might want to get cute because those 2 losses are to what team? The Chargers. So, I don't want to confuse y'all or nothing, but I'm just saying, if you want to take a money line to make some bread, that might be the game to do it because everybody's on the Chiefs. So, all right, Will, that's week 11, man. That was pretty cool. I think it's going to be some fun action. I think there's a lot of stuff, a lot of games that could go either way, and I think it's going to be interesting by the time we get to Sunday, see how everything kind of levels out. But what? Hold on. Will, you hear that music, man?
Same music, I hear it.
You know what that means, man. When that music come on, we got to get up out of here. So we'll go and take us home, man.
Appreciate everybody listening.